For more on the new Fortune Global 500 list, we are joined here by Brian Dumaine, Fortune's global editor. He oversees the magazine's international coverage and its European and Asian editions. Welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
Let's talk about China. First of all, do you think that we overestimate China? Because, after all, there's still many more American companies that are on this list.
That's true. The United States still has 140 companies on the list, as you mentioned, and China is only 37. However, it's all about growth. The Chinese economy is growing despite the recent economic crisis. Projections say perhaps 6 or 7% this year. The United States is stalled, Europe is stalled, even Japan is stalled. So China looks like it's going to be the future. It's the potential, absolutely.
But what about Japan? Do we overlook Japan somewhat in the sense they're still second on the list?
They are second with 68 companies on our list out of the 500, and they have very powerful corporation. I mean, Toyota is just one example, and they're a country to be reckoned with. But again, it's a growth story, and if you look at where the most growth is going on, it's not in the developed world, it's in the developing world.
And getting back to China, I think there is this hope in the world that as China rebounds from this global economic downturn, that it will help draw the rest of the world's economies with it. Do you buy into that?
Well, not completely. It will help somewhat, but China is becoming more inward focused. It's been an export-driven economy, but their exports are down 25% because of the global crisis. The government is putting billions and billions of dollars into creating demand domestically. Now, that's good for the China economy, but it's not necessarily good for the rest of the world.
There's been talk recently, coming from China, about pressing for perhaps a new currency that would replace the dollar when it comes to big international deal making. Do you think that is a real threat here?
Well, because of our deficit spending, the Chinese are concerned about the dollar and their investments in the dollar. And they would like to have some sort of alternative. But I really don't think that's going to happen for a long time. I think the dollar will remain the currency of choice, at least for the foreseeable future. Because
they own so much of our debt, I mean, wouldn't that undermine sort of their own investments?
Yes, they would be hurting themselves if they took a dramatic shift away from the dollar. So this is something that could happen gradually over time, but I wouldn't expect anything soon.
Brian Dumaine, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.